working families in our country, as we have done.
Let them work. All right, so Katie, I will go to you first. What are Kevin McCarthy and Mitch McConnell trying to work out with the president going forward in coronavirus relief?
So Republicans are trying to balance this idea of continuing some economic stimulus in a time when we have an unprecedented situation of unemployment, while also incentivizing people to go back to work. So there's this battle between Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin and Larry Kudlow, the economic advisor in the White House, about how exactly to do that. Steve Mnuchin tends to be a big government spending guy. Larry Kudlow seems to think we should stimulate the private sector in the economy to get people back to work. Republicans have been very hesitant to jump into another stimulus package. They haven't spent all of the money in the first round of legislation that they pushed forward, so they're trying to see how that worked out first before we put another $1 trillion on the table of spending. You know, Kennedy, the national debt today is $26.5 trillion. And it may not feel like that hurts today, but it will certainly hurt in the future. And, you know, crises like this actually show why having this enormous amount of debt is a problem, because if we didn't, it would be much easier to push through stimulus packages that you could arguably say help the economy, help people get back on their feet. But the main thing here is incentivizing people to go back to work, because on the unemployment that people are getting, many of them are getting more money through the government stimulus than they were when they were working.
And people say that openly. And one, there are two problems. One of them, Katie brought up, and I would like to see Vice President Biden really address this, how we are going to tame the deficit, because when you increase taxes and you increase spending, you limit economic growth, so you're not going to have the sort of tax receipts. But also, we've seen a lot of businesses who shouldn't be receiving stimulus checks, they're getting them. And you see, you know, millions and billions of dollars go out, and there doesn't seem to be a mechanism in place to sort of stem the corruption. So what can be done on that front to make sure that the people who really need it, because there are a lot of people in desperate need, that they get it, and that it is not being used for profit by people who are already flush with cash?
Kennedy, that's a big problem. You know, I mean, the quick answer is you have to have accountability, transparency in how this money is spent and who gets it to prevent that kind of corruption. It is to the point, especially in terms of the deficit, that there's a huge amount of money going on, and it's understandable given the crisis that we as the American people are going through with this pandemic. But it's just galling to see that some of the money is wasted on people who are corrupt or spending it to go gambling or on vacation. It just makes you furious. And it makes me furious. But the larger argument here, though, I think that, and the point of negotiation in Washington, is about what would go into an extension of the unemployment benefits that are supposed to expire in, I guess, about 2 weeks here at the end of July. And that's a difficult one. I think you just heard Katie speak about the issue of reopening and wanting to make sure that people have incentive to go back to work, and that's exactly true. But it's also true that they have to have something to go back, a place to go back to work, and that many places, as you know, are still closed, and some we started to open in phases, some businesses, but they increasingly now, especially in areas that continue to be hard hit by the virus, are having to peel back or retrench on the reopening. And I think key to reopening is making sure that we have good steps, good safety procedures for the virus. But until then, I do think that we want to avoid those scenes of long lines at food banks, people lining up for any help they can get. And I think it also helps the economy keep going if those people have some money to spend. So there are two windows on it. The agenda about preventing liability lawsuits, this payroll tax cut, I think that it's a really difficult one for Republicans to hold. Mitch McConnell in the Senate has Republicans who want to win re-election, and they're going to have to face people who say, why can't I get unemployment at a time when I can't work? It's not that they don't want to work, they'll say they can't work.
And it's about finding the balance. And, you know, with payroll tax cut, I think that's going to be very popular for not only workers, but employers, particularly small businesses. So, Jillian, let's talk about some of the Senate Republicans who might be breaking with the White House here. What are the lines? What are they going to offer some of the voters in their states to ensure their reelection? Well, Kennedy, one of the core problems here that needs to be addressed before the Hill's really going to move forward on this is that the White House, by all accounts from all reporters and reporters at other networks, is that the White House is split over what to do with those $600 monthly payments to Americans. They're unsure about whether continuing that or not is a good idea. On the one, they're generally splitting down into two camps. On the one hand, we have Steve Mnuchin and his team, which are saying these $600 should be in cash, meaning the Americans who received those payments spent them. That is good. On the other side, you have Larry Kudlow and his team who are saying essentially this creates that disincentive that you and Juan were talking about a moment ago for Americans to work at low-wage jobs. If they're getting $600 from the federal government, why push to get back into the workforce now when they can kind of subsist on that? The White House really needs to unify its messaging on this to Capitol Hill before Republican senators can coalesce around their plan and then try and move it forward. All right, so Carly, what is the most important thing here? Is it for the president to look good like he cares and maybe engender some goodwill from voters who are on the fence? Or is it really using this stimulus in the federal government to improve the economy in the short term? Because that is the president's shield. That's his Captain America shield.
Yeah, he's the economer in chief, so I think he's going to go with the second one in your option of two. I think a solution, though, would be for people who are making that additional $600 in unemployment, why not pay them that additional $600 for a period of time, even if they go back to work, so that they don't have to get hit with this choice of staying home and maybe making more money if I stay home. Get them back into the workforce, pay them that $600 for a period of time, with them fully knowing that this is because of the coronavirus pandemic. Get them back in the workforce so employers aren't hurt by this as well. And then everybody wins. I know it's obviously a huge financial burden on taxpayers, but I mean, we're already spending trillions of dollars. What's another $600 for the millions of people that are out of work right now? I joke, but I also am very serious that could be money very much well spent and sort of a solution to this problem that Republicans are fighting with here.
All right, but how are we going to pay it back? No one's answering that. President Trump again attacking Joe Biden on his mental fitness for office, even challenging Biden to take a cognitive test like he did. The response from the Biden camp and how the president's are playing with voters. That's next.
To be president, you have to be strong and tough and so many other things. He doesn't even come out of his basement.